sorry you had a bad experience. That sucks. I don't want any worker to have a bad experience with labor unions. Unfortunately, there are a lot who have. And we've got to take ownership of that, and accountability of it, and repair harm where harm is done. But
Which side are you on?
So, speaking of people being weird, Adam, you reached out to a local news media outlet, that, really, I really don't know. I have no idea. I had never heard of them before you told me that you reached out to them. Athens Now is the publisher. Do you have any idea of their reach? Do you think that they actually reach more people than we do?
Well, they give it away for free at the dry cleaners and places like that.
I
so,
see.
It's that kind of magazine.
Right.
And so, I run across it at restaurants or the dry cleaners or, when I'm running errands in town, I see it out and about for free at the little rack by the door. I don't ever see anyone pick it up but me, because I'm just weird like that. And I just want to see what they're saying in it. And I've seen Phil Williams. You're a big fan of Phil Williams. I know you listen to him a lot. Right Side Radio.
I'm a right side ruffian is what his fans are called. So
that's the fanboy club. Okay.
Yeah. Right side ruffians.
Gotcha.
Got to really be a ruffian around here to be right winger.
Yeah.
It's very countercultural
rebellious.
being right wing in the state of Alabama.
It's hard, man. It's hard.
Yeah. They have
right. Yeah. Wonder how much Coke dollars were spent coming up with that term. But anyway,
probably
Alabama
wonder if it was
Policy
the same
Institute.
consultants that came up with that WebMD video.
You wouldn't be surprised, honestly. As much money is flowing around from some of these billionaires that back some of these outlets. But anyway, I've seen Phil Williams getting an article in Athens Now. And so I thought, well, okay, if the right-wing radio guy has an article, what if we did an article about us? And so I reached out to the editor just, with some general information about the Valley Labor Report and was like, hey, I live in Athens. I'm familiar with your publication here. And there's a labor union radio show in your backyard. And labor unions, newsflash, they're a big deal. Especially now, right? Very popular now. We're kind of in the news a lot. And so just reached out to be like, hey, do you want to do anything? Could be an article about the show, could be, an op-ed, whatever, just kept it broad. But I thought, one media project to another in North Alabama, why not try to collaborate? But I did get a rejection, sad to say, it's not the first rejection I've ever received in my life, but
right.
Sure it won't be the last. But it was an interesting rejection. She said, we're going to pass on your kind offer for a number of reasons, some involving production. Fair enough.
Right.
I literally would have just given you a press release to run, but that's fine.
Copy and paste is tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. The most pertinent is that I endured a poor experience with a hospitality union many years ago. Then I had the blessing of working 14 years in a non-union house that had better wages, better benefits, a positive work environment, outstanding leadership, and upper mobility. Interestingly, people from the union houses were beating down the door to work in hours. All the best. Publisher of Athens Now. So that's interesting. She had one bad experience many years ago and has now totally written off all of labor, all of the union movement, her one bad experience many years ago. And unfortunately, that's a real thing in our movement, right?
Right.
I have been trying to recruit folks who say, no, I had a bad experience, in 1983 and or my dad had a bad experience back in 1973. And so that is a real phenomenon that we have to deal with, that, people will take one bad experience and then write off everything, right? It could have been one bad local inside of one large union, inside of one large movement. That's very possible, right? And you wouldn't, it's just, you wouldn't do that in other aspects of your life, where if you have one bad experience, like you write off an entire industry, for example, right? Like if you go to a concert and have one bad experience, you're not going to necessarily write off like concerts forever for your life, right? And it's the same phenomena you see though sometimes with unions, and it's interesting that people have that approach. Also, I'm calling BS on that anyway.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I just find that I find that really, really hard to believe, that there was a non-union shop that was just that much better than a union shop close by. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's true. It can happen. Absolutely. It's a hospitality union, and who knows what the scenario was, but I just think it's interesting that people will write off labor unions because of a bad experience that happened a long time ago. And I've run into a lot of people who are like that, and I just don't get it, because ultimately unions are the membership. Now, unions are institutions as well, with flaws and with leaders who can be flawed. But ultimately, it's up to us as the members to make unions good or bad. And I don't know, I just think it's bizarre to say that one contract experience at one particular local, of one particular union of the entire movement of the United States of America is somehow representative of, that's the end all be all of everything you need to know about unions.
Right. And now because of that, I'm not even going to engage it. She didn't even ask you, there weren't any follow-up questions about like, tell me more about your project. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, just tell me more about it. Give me a phone call. I want to, suss you out. No engagement at all with, another small local media project by a local labor leader, political coordinator in the Stagehands Union, trustee on the Labor Council, you undoubtedly, if labor leaders are a thing, and to whatever extent that phenomena is true, you fit the bill. I'm not even going to engage. I'm just going to say, like, no, without any prodding. It's super bizarre. Not a very kind of, the media, I think, in its best form is going to be kind of curious. You ask questions and that's how you get stories, right? A very incurious reaction to your
and I've had bad experiences with media people, but unlike this person, I'm not going to write off every media person ever, just because of some bad experiences in the past. I just met someone in the media who is very incurious, but I'm not going to assume that they're all that way.
You're never going to apply to another newspaper.
Now that I'm rejected, I guess I should never reach out to anyone ever.
What irks me about it is, like, a union is kind of a democratic system, so you could technically have a pretty conservative, quote unquote, union, and I'm sure a union in Alabama is quite different in a lot of ways to like someone far out west or up Seattle.
Right.
But I've been voting democratically for a long time, but my government's pretty not the way I want it, but I still vote, you know what I mean? It's like, had a bad experience with democracy around here. But I'm still gonna,
I've had a lot of bad experiences with democracy.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of funny. Like, it's just a tiny little thing, a free newspaper. But I did think it was interesting. And it is a phenomena that's real. And maybe there are people out there listening or in the chat who can help kind of come up with how do we address that, because it's something we run into in the field all the time. And I try to, address it the way I have, that, people they have a church service they don't like, they go visit another church,
Right.
or maybe they try another denomination, or maybe they give up religion altogether. That's their choice too, right? But generally people will not write off a broad category of their existence based off one anecdote. So it's just weird to have that approach with labor unions. And obviously there's a vested interest, and that is incorporated into union busting, and it's incorporated into anti-union talking points, right? It's a common trope. Well, so-and-so had a bad experience back in the day, right? And so now you can't be open to what labor may have to offer because so-and-so had a bad deal years ago.
Right.
Yeah, so it's something that comes up a lot. I'm not heartbroken by the rejection. I do find it a little questionable, the facts.
Right.
But, more
It is
power
what it
to her.
is.
Doesn't change the fact that on average, labor union members receive higher wages. Labor union members receive better benefits. Labor union members are more likely to receive pensions. Labor union members actually have a voice in their job, in their working conditions, in their pay. Labor union members have just cause. They have due process on the job. They can't just be walked out for any damn reason, right? These are all important. These are important. And just because you may have had a bad experience years ago, that doesn't write off everything. I'm sorry you had a bad experience. That sucks. I don't want any worker to have a bad experience with labor unions. And unfortunately, there are a lot who have. And we've got to take ownership of that and accountability of it. And we have to, repair harm where harm is done. But yeah, that's all I got to say about it. I will live another day.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm gonna be praying for you. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.